you actually can't deliver the services that a modern school needs to deliver purely with teachers.
Well, the school clearly is not an island. It's centred in a community. There's a whole range of people and agencies that make a huge difference to the lives of young people.
Well, the last time we went into account, there was 67 different multi-agencies and different groups that came into school to support the school.
The 5 outcomes of Every Child Matters cannot be achieved by any single agency. It never will be. But we've all got our part to play in this jigsaw.
As the Every Child Matters agenda begins to bed in, schools and all the other agencies involved are having to get used to working closer and closer together.
There are some practical things we can do. Better information sharing, for example, a common assessment framework which it has been introduced. Central points where young people can have access services, for example, in schools on a multi-agency basis, which are informal.
This programme shows some examples of successes.
She's been helping me every week, and just helping me with my feelings and things like that. She cares a lot about me.
And highlights some of the challenges that remain to be overcome.
Barriers could be financial and resources, for example, not having the trained personnel to be able to deliver what you want to deliver, or even the time to deliver it, because it's pressurised. Even an extended school day is quite pressurised for the children and young people, and there's only so much you can do there.
The impetus behind the ECM agenda has seen schools and the other agencies involved both extending existing services and developing new ones. Approaches range from tried and trusted techniques like truancy sweeps.
Why are you actually out of school at the moment?
I'm going in now. It's just that I got a plate and I was meant to go to the doctors, but then I didn't.
To individual intervention on a level which previously would have seemed extraordinary.
I think you started actually looking at your behaviour and yourself even earlier than when you got to Utah.
Police officer Andy Beggs and educational social worker Damien Stormont run regular truancy sweeps.
If you sort of pull up by, you know where McDonald's is?
They've spotted a Year 6 pupil.
Are you grandparents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously all we're doing is making sure that the right people are off and people aren't abusing the system.
The grandparents say the child's absence is authorised, but Andy and Damien want to be certain. Social worker Damien rings the school to check the story.
Could you confirm, are your Year 6 pupils being given the day off? But they should actually be in school then. School have had a message from Mum today to say that he's got a tummy bug.
Oh, the little bitch.
At the end of the day, child safety is paramount as far as everybody's concerned, really. If the child is not in school, then what are they doing, where are they, who are they hanging around with? From the police point of view, we need to know that, and for the child's own safety, either take them back home or to the school where they should be.
Truancy sweeps are a classic model of schools and other agencies working together.
So were you like getting up this morning?
But Ethan's story is an interesting example of a new, more personalised approach. The Year 8 pupil has a history of disruptive behaviour.
Even when I were on the instructor's course, yeah.
Once upon a time, he'd simply have been excluded. But now, people like PC Bob Bowman, working closely with the school, take a much more sophisticated approach.
And I was even telling my mum that I was going to be violent towards you.
Right, oh, very good. glad I've heard that now, yeah.
Accessing support and accessing different outside agencies has been made easier, and the whole idea of sharing information and sharing responsibility is also made easier for us. There's not that kind of cut on whose responsibility it is. We can actually share it and decide who's best to act on which part of a problem for a child.
The action in Ethan's case was unusual. Bob Bowman persuaded the school and Ethan's mother that a spell in a wilderness therapy camp in America could help Ethan get back on track. He's just returned to school after 9 weeks in Utah.
No, what I'm trying to find out is I was quite concerned that because there were about 3 weeks or so before you went, that you knew where you were going. I thought you might flip a bit and not want to go.
Well, that's what I was originally, like doing. I was refusing, shutting it out,
Yeah.
just so I wouldn't go.
Okay.
So
what made the difference for you to start feeling a bit more, yeah, I need to do this.
It was a number of things. It was just me, like, I just recognised that I had to change, you know.
Yeah.
Ethan is the first person we've ever actually sent on a long residential to another country. Ethan is an unusual character who really wasn't making progress as we wanted, either socially or academically. And Bob was very fired up about Utah and the wilderness therapy camp. And Steph Bowman, Bob's wife, is a teaching assistant here, and they both accompanied him to Utah, and they had the very difficult job of saying goodbye to him and seeing him off into what was at that point of the year a blizzard.
What were it like the first few days, though?
The first few days,
yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I can remember when I dropped you off,
yeah.
It was freezing. And when we went back to our hotel that night, it was cold.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, flipping heck, you're going to really know that you're here. And I turned to Mrs. Bowman and I says, Ethan will hate us for doing this.
No, I don't hate you.
No, yeah.
There has been a change since he's come back from Utah. Seems a lot more positive now in PE. Before he went, very reluctant to get changed. Sometimes refused to take part in the lessons. Since he's come back, I think obviously his body shape has changed. He feels a lot more confident. He's taking part in the lessons and he just seems a lot more focused.
Utah was amazing, you know, it helped me a lot. You know, just helped my anger and my control and everything of my emotions, and I'm much more happy expressing myself at the moment, so it's just kind of like a safe environment where you can express yourself at any time. I think I've got much more control and confidence. The confidence would come into learning, you know, and speaking in class and stuff. I think he's made a big difference, and I don't know if I would probably be in Roundhay if it wasn't for Bob.
Sometimes teachers can feel a bit beleaguered because they're teaching subjects and they're trying to work with young people, and some of those young people need far more support than that classroom teacher can give them. And so there are other agencies that can really help with that. So it can make their job easier, and not only that, it can make sure that a young person progresses in a much better way.
65 miles away from Roundhay School in Leeds, many of the pupils attending Kingswood College of Arts in Hull come from deprived estates. Social problems are relatively common, and the multi-agency team serving the school work to overcome a wide range of barriers to learning.
We deal closely with an extensive range of multi-agencies, ranging from services within the school to deal directly with students who are struggling against barriers to learning, agencies who visit us on regular occasions, and then agencies we refer to outside of the building who we signpost students to, and parents.
Today, the school's child protection officer, Elaine Wainwright, is trying to find the best way of keeping 16-year-old Kerry in education, despite her pregnancy.
There's the arm.
Yeah.
There's the head. There's its body.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. So do you know if you're having a boy or a girl then?
No, that's next month.
Oh, is
when
it?
I find out.
And what are you hoping for?
Girl.
So how many weeks are you now?
Just over 17.
Just over 17. Is Kerry going to stay at home?
Yeah.
Still?
All through. She's doing her courses at college and then...
Okay.
But we've said we'll have the bain if she wants for the first 6 months before she goes into a creche.
Right. So...
It's if Kerry can cope.
Yeah. We've got to see if you've got to cope.
Because getting up in the night with the bain and...
Yeah.
How's it going to be on her and through the day? Is she going to be tired? And
yeah. That what we're talking about, aren't we? These are the consequences, and it's now for you to make as much of it as you can.
Yeah.
You know, make sure your baby's cared for.
Yeah.
Because you've got to do that on your own.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tiring for you, but it'll be worth it. Get some qualifications behind you, and then hopefully some employment.
Yep.
And that'll be good for you and your baby. So what about boyfriend then? Boyfriend's still in the picture?
Yeah.
Right.
He said that, like, when I've had the bain, like, the first week or so, he's going to stay over here.
Right.
And, like, help on a night with the bain and stuff like that.
You know, at the end of the day, everybody's supporting, and a good network's there for you so that you can continue with your education. And it doesn't come to a halt just because you're having a baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had to get Mum into school and do a risk assessment to make sure it was safe for Kerry to be at school. Any exam considerations she might need. We think probably she was 14 weeks at the time of the risk assessment.
Elaine's one of the heroes of the school. Elaine, a long time ago, only did attendance, but it became such a massive need and a massive centre for everything. She knows the community, she now knows the businesses, she is now involved in lots more detail work, such as child protection. But what Elaine can solve for a family within the building helps that family massively. There's only so much we can possibly do with the children we have in the time we have them for. If we can create positive relationships, if it's a centre for learning, as opposed to a place where some parents come just to complain at us, then we are at the centre of the whole community. If we can engage and work with adults and work with the parents, then we will affect the children.
It's the job of Extended Learning Coordinator Jill Brooks to get more parents into Kingswood, so she's organised a family fun day.
Well, it's all about engaging the parents in the kids' learning. It doesn't mean sat behind a desk talking to them and doing their homework. It's about having some fun experiences. It fits into the Every Child Matters agenda for enjoy and achieve. It raises aspirations. It's good for the economic development because in a long way round, people coming here, they have some nice informal experiences with the kids, but then also they might end up going on a course at the end of it. They might end up turning up and finding out that we were doing a literacy course and they didn't realise, so they come along with a friend. And that's as simple as it is. We know that paper doesn't work and leaflets don't work. It's the face-to-face that works. So every opportunity we get, we tend to chat to them, but always have, try and get it through the back door, basically, and promote the courses that we're doing. It's about engaging parents in their children's learning. And then from that, you've got a network of different ways that it can go. And in the end, it's about them also achieving their full potential. As far as we're concerned, every child does matter and every parent matters as well.
Kingswood offer computing, literacy and numeracy, amongst many other courses, to all parents.
In keeping with the season's festivities, have decided to hold this year's. There's only one director. If we say he or she, we say has and not have, and that's the error.
Getting parents into school on courses is a visible expression of the changes the Every Child Matters agenda is delivering. But the results are likely to be long-term. More immediate challenges, like poor attendance or an incident in school, can be a sign of deeper-seated problems, which it's hoped the ECM multi-agency model can now tackle more effectively than before.
Some of the issues that we deal with begin perhaps by children who are reluctant attenders, and then we delve into the background of that and find other issues. Some of the issues might be to do with, let's say there might be an act of theft in school, and you research that and uncover all sorts of other issues.
Most kids want to attend school. It's very rare they don't want to attend school. Even if sometimes it could be that they've no money for bus fares, no money for dinners.
It might be that a child is not having free dinners that they're entitled to, and you sort of uncover that basically the family don't know how to claim for things that they're entitled to claim for, and then we can put them in touch with the right people and get the right support to help them on the way.
If it is hard, for the families to manage for the children to come to school regularly, then we want to help them try to give them that chance. I think we owe it to them.
That was the case with one family. Year 10 pupil Sarah told a teacher she was struggling with her lessons. The teacher alerted Elaine, who investigated and found that the root cause was a housing problem.
She came to me because she was finding it difficult coping in her classes. Where she lived in the neighbourhood, there was a lad next door who was causing problems for her, intimidating her. Quite low level at first, but then things escalated and Sarah was not coping in school. She was crying a lot, out of her lessons a lot, and just not able to cope at all. So we visited home to find out what was going on. And then we decided we would do what they call a common assessment, which is a child in need, but not a child in danger. We felt that the family were all in need. Contacted the housing as Mum was after moving. I explained the circumstances and I said, Sarah has to be paramount in this. She's a year 10 pupil. We feel like she's just letting it all go because of the pressure. And he got back to us later that day to say that the house had been allocated to Tracy. So on a scale of 1 to 10 then, how much better is it here than it was across the road?
When we've got it all done, we'll be
10, won't we?
How do you think Sarah's been?
She's still been where she wants to have her own way all the time and not listening to me. We need to be working still on that. She helped me all day yesterday, so I'll give her some credit there.
So back to school when you're feeling much better then?
Yeah. The first time I talked to Ellen, I felt like real shocked because it's like I never met such a nice person before. I felt like she understood what was going on, and that not many people, when like you're a child, like nearly finishing school, not many adults understand the pressure what you're going through. Some people just feel like you're making it up, but when you go to Ellen, she's there and she'll just put everything right for you. And she's been helping me every week, and just helping me with my feelings and things like that. And I had problems with my friends, but they seem to have calmed down since we had them in the room. And thanks to Ellen, she's helped me a lot. She cares a lot about me.
Schools and extended schools have to work very closely with the other agencies to make sure we've got this holistic support for young people. And where there's a recognition that we all need to really play our part, then it's much more effective, and there is greater sharing of information and trust and joint working. There is signposting and referrals, and understanding the progression of young people, that together we're in this together to make sure that they achieve their potential. So you have to nurture and foster those relationships, which then helps you to work together more effectively.
In Sarah's case, the trust between student, teacher and agency seems to have produced a positive outcome. In South Hunsley School on the outskirts of Hull, a breakfast club is aimed at providing an informal atmosphere where that trust can be fostered, enabling students to share their concerns.
How are you since I saw you last? Are you okay? So what are your plans?
What I'm planning to do? Probably be a chef.
All right, you should be behind here then.
Our breakfast club is for youngsters who we identify as at-risk youngsters, who perhaps don't ever sit down to a meal at home, or perhaps do sit down to a meal at home, but find school quite challenging or whatever. So we try and identify youngsters at risk who might, if we don't do quite a lot with them, could possibly get to the point of exclusion from main school setting. This is not just about giving them food. In fact, the food is probably the least important bit of this breakfast club. The most important bit is actually giving them an opportunity to talk to other professionals, other than teachers, about the issues that are bothering them. It's an informal environment, and it's about building up a feeling of a team of youngsters who are working together with a range of agencies and feel relaxed enough to ask anything that they need to ask. We always have a youth service leader there, we always have the connections there, and we always have our extended services coordinator there. Eleanor, who's our connections officer, comes in and is just so fantastic with the students.
Grace, have you had something to eat yet, Pat? Have you had something to eat yet?
She has the time for them, she sits down, she can have adult conversations with them, and she makes them feel that their issues are important. She might be from another service, but that's irrelevant. She is one of my staff and she's one of my team, and she's a very important part of my team.
If we get organised about you starting to come to breakfast club again regularly, would you be quite happy to come? Yeah, on a Monday. Yeah. I personally deal with the raft of things that young people tend to have issues around that affect them in school. So it can be self-esteem issues, it can be something going on at home, maybe parents splitting up, or issues around a new step-parent coming on the scene. Occasionally it can be a bullying issue that I get reported to me. Anything like that really, relationships, friendship issues.
It helps me a lot because I go to talk to Eleanor about everything pretty much. I don't feel like I can talk to anyone else about it, and I know she won't go and tell everyone else.
Have you thought of any more that you would like to add?
I'd like to be calm,
Because
I'm not always calm now.
Right.
I get very angry very quickly, so I'd like to be calmer than I am.
Maybe that's something that we can work on together then, because to actually get to the point where you can be calm, you've got to recognise what makes you not calm.
Yeah.
Our students are on the whole very lucky. They come from quite a, fairly sort of well-off homes, but they have such a range of needs. There's all sorts of issues for them, and they need the support that we give them. And it ranges from volunteer groups right through to all the services that you'd expect, connections, the educational psychologist service, etc.
With over 60 agencies, the school realised it needed to come up with a new model to coordinate their work.
We restructured, and one of our main parts of our restructuring was that we went to associate heads of year, and they have been absolutely central to the development of the multi-agency working. Without them, I actually don't think it would have been possible, because they are available all day, every day to children, to parents, to multi-agencies. They can go to case meetings, they can go to the multi-agency meetings that we have in school. They can deal with somebody who just drops in, and that's where the associate heads of year come in. They meet the agencies, they make sure that the parents and the children are there. If they're not there, they go and find them and they get them there. You know, and it's that kind of flexibility that makes this work.
South Hunsley seems to have made real progress that other schools possibly haven't. Why not?
For some agencies, knowing where they fit in and where each other fit in and playing their part is a challenge. Or even sometimes, being recognised by other partners as having a role to play. And so, for example, in youth services where they have quite an important role to play in informal education of young people, sometimes the benefits of that are not fully recognised by other agencies, partly due to the fact that it's perhaps not explained as much as it could be.
Back at Roundhay School in Leeds, their method of improving communication was a simple one. Make one day, a Tuesday, multi-agency day.
I try to focus all the multi-agency activities on Tuesdays so that I always have a sort of a residue of agency people in school. We have the school nurse, Sue Preston, she comes in on Tuesdays. When we have our allocated time with the Ed Psych, she comes in on Tuesdays.
Tuesdays are therefore the day that PC Bob Bowman is employed to come into the school.
This school has obviously dipped its hand into its pocket to secure a police service over and above what they'd normally get. They've done similarly with other services, learning mentor, attendance improvement officers, careers, and, they've just decided we want more of a good thing. Just being around the school more often increases the chance that as you're moving around the school, I may be having a wander just to see how things are on the corridor, and you wander past the learning mentor's office. Oh, PC Bowman, need to have a word with you at some stage about whatever. It just increases that chance of being able to communicate and work as a team.
It's happening all the time, even on her way to school and on her way home. She's got kids throwing stones at her in the street. That's how bad this is.
That's where I got more heavily involved because, at the end of the day, that's an assault. One day a week means that you're actually really going to do some proactive work. I always want to leave a school feeling that the vast majority of my work's preventative.
I watched a programme, it was in America, and he was threatening to kill himself.
Right.
So they got the shooting squads in, and then they shot the gun out of his hand.
Right. We need to be careful that sometimes what we see in papers and on TV doesn't distort what the actual truth is. If I think my day's been only reacting to something that's happened and adding weight to a sanction that's already been imposed, I don't feel that satisfied that we're making inroads. Does anybody have one? Anybody have a BB, can be honest? Yeah.
Me.
A marksman doesn't know if something's real or not. Just like I say, when they see that picture, they haven't got a clue. It will be a guess. If they pull that away and pointed it at the police officer, and the police officer still don't know whether it's real or not, what do you think that police officer might do? Might shoot them. And it's happened.
Proactive work by the agencies can, of course, take place outside schools. Educational social worker Damien Stormont organises visits to the Magistrates' Court for local school children, here from Mersey Park Primary in the Wirral.
Why did you steal the mobile telephone?
Because all my mates in the gang had one and I wasn't allowed one.
As if there's a serious crime, you've been sent down for 18 months in prison.
This way, young lady. Okay.
Silence in court.
Thank you. We'll go this way.
Once the children reach the age of criminal responsibility, which in this country, England and Wales, is 10, we feel that it is important that they are educated in relation to what happens in court. The whole aim, of course, is prevention, to keep these children out of the justice system.
Hopefully from today they'll have seen that what we have talked about is real, and that hopefully in the future it will deter them from being involved in antisocial behaviour and criminal behaviour in the community.
The bench will retire.
All staff.
Any school that maybe suggests that, you know, where do the police fit with Every Child Matters, maybe need to examine themselves a little bit, because there's definitely a role for us there.
Primarily, it's about being in the school, becoming involved in the school and being seen as part of this wider approach to young people with multi-agency teams, so we're all there for the benefit of young people, not an isolated agency sitting outside of it.
People ask how we afford it, but we just can't not afford it. And that's because our students, as all youngsters in the modern world, have a range of needs that we can't meet as a school.
Young people will not progress unless they have a wraparound services, providing opportunities both for formal and informal learning, for positive activities, for support when they need it at the times, particularly in adolescence, which is a transitional phase, and therefore no one agency can provide all that. Each has its distinct roles to play, but each must know what the other's doing and how they're doing it.
Every child has always mattered, and there was part of me when I heard, you know, the description "every child matters," thought, well, what on earth have we all been teaching for the last however many years? But it is nice to kind of bring it together. And as I say, it has heightened awareness, I would say, of the need for agencies to work together. Sometimes the sharing of a bit of information makes all of the difference to a child.